What's going on YouTube? In this video I'm going to be sharing with you how to create page objects and how to model page objects and the method that I like to use. This video will have some advanced concepts with classes and inheritance, so if you don't understand that, I highly recommend you guys to get up to speed on it and then come back to this video. So the page objects that we're going to be building, we're going to be building them off of this website, which is the website that I deployed for one of the tools that I created and open sourced. So this page objects are going to be used in production to test this website. So this is the real deal, the real page objects for a real framework. Nothing imaginary here. So, and yeah, I will actually create more videos regarding this framework later as well. So if you want to get notified, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon. So now let's take a look at the process for creating the page objects. I like to break down this process into 3 stages. Stage number 1 is I usually go to the website or the app that I'm working with, and I try to get familiar with it. I try to find the patterns on that particular app. Now on this website I know the patterns already. I know that we need a header, we need the button here for the GitHub, and we need a footer. It's like this footer. This footer is common on more than one page, so we need that footer. So if I go down to this page, there's this footer here. Now, not every page here actually conforms to standards, right? The home page doesn't have a footer, and then demo page doesn't follow the standard at all. It looks completely different. There's no header. So the process that I'm going to show you guys, you will be able to model this website really easily, or any other website, no matter how complicated it is. So the first step is to identify patterns. Very obvious patterns are like headers and footers, and not so obvious patterns are like buttons. Okay, if you have buttons or drop downs or tables on your website, you want to model them as well into a reusable component. So when I say model, I mean create a component that you can inherit or that you can define in your pages. The reason you want to do that is because it's going to increase your development velocity a lot. So now the second thing that you want to do, or the second stage, is once you identified all the components that you want to create, you actually want to create a skeleton. So if we go down here, a skeleton is pretty much everything from folder structure down to class structure. And if you look over here, we have the pages module, which has generic components for like footer and the header. This is something reusable across multiple pages. We also have the base page down at the root, and that's because it will be inherited by every single page that we have in here, like the about page, the demo page, documentation page, home page. Base page will be inherited by all of those. We can even use base page to represent pages that we did not model. Okay, so to demonstrate this, let me just go into the buttons. So we have this floating button over here, which if I click it, it takes me to GitHub. Now I'm not gonna be modeling the GitHub page, but I can still use this base page object to represent this page, and I can still verify in my tests that I'm taken to the correct page. Because if I go to the base page, and let me just make this a little bit larger, here I can use the expected URL and I can compare it against the actual URL that is returned over here. Now you might be wondering what this browser is. This is actually a custom wrapper for the Selenium WebDriver. Okay, I have 2 videos that cover how to create the browser wrapper over here and the UI object wrapper that is referenced over here. So I will link to those videos in the description. Make sure to check them out. This is very important. Not only it shows you the concepts for how to wrap the Selenium, it also, the browser object itself, it allows you to run page objects or test in multi-threading mode in parallel without you lifting a finger, and you will call the page objects the same way in multi-threaded mode the way you do in single-threaded mode. So you get this for absolutely free. There's nothing you need to do. So just watch those 2 videos. I'll link them in the description. Very, very powerful stuff. So this wrappers bring me to the next point, which is the abstraction layers. It's very critical when you create frameworks or anything else for that matter. It's very critical to abstract the third-party libraries at the low level. So this is essentially going to be level 1, the wrappers for Selenium over here. Like I have imports for WebDriver in this class, and I have imports for Selenium and WebDriver in this class. This is the only 2 classes in my framework that will have this imports. And this is because this is my level 1 or layer 1 abstraction. Now above layer 1 you have the page objects. So page objects should only be referencing your own code. This goes for your page objects and for your components as well. If you look at the components, let me make this bigger. If you look at the components over here, you see that the only import I have for WebDriver is this by selector, which is okay because you can't really wrap this, and there's no sense of wrapping this because even if I wrap it, it's gonna be one-to-one mapping, so this doesn't make sense to wrap. But over here you see that I'm referencing UI object for pretty much for everything in this page or page component. I'm referencing UI object. Same thing in any page over here. This is for the home. I'm not referencing anything from Selenium. Also, when you are creating a low-level abstractions, you want to make sure you're using dumb functions and your functions are small. What I mean by this is your functions must do one specific thing and that one thing only. So for example, if we have a login page and we want to use it to log in, the functions that we want to put in that page need to have something like input username, input password, and then click the login button. A very common mistake beginners make is they create one function, call it login, they take username and password, they put it in and they click the button. That's all of that happens in one function. This is a mistake. You don't want to do that at low level. The reason is you can always create another level on top using your page objects to streamline a certain workflow, but you don't want to do it at the low level. Because what if you want to test a negative use case? Like maybe you don't want to provide a password. Then you need to create a different function, a different login that will go through that flow. And you will have a bunch of duplicate code between those two functions. So you want to keep your functions small, and you want to separate the tasks between those functions as much as possible. So now that you guys know how to create skeletons or kind of you are aware of the best practices on how to do that, you want to start filling in the logic. So if you look at this home page, I already did that already, right? So, well, some of it at least. So we have the class, and we already have inheritance for the base page, for the page header, and for the GitHub button. Now this is what I call the definition, the page definition. Now below here we have individual functions that are going to be relevant on that particular page. So get punchline and get description. What does it mean? So this is the punchline and this is the description. So that's the only thing that this page is going to be able to do. So between this functions and the functions that I have in the base page and the page header and the GitHub floating button, that's the functionality of that page. Most of it is again going to be inherited from base page and the page header. So page header, if you look at this, this is how the logic looks when it's filled in. So page header is a module, it's not a page. So this is how a module would look. Do note that when we click something, when we click on a link in the header and we return the next page object, that the import of that page object happens internal to that function. And this is very important. Make sure that all of your imports for the next page objects are internal to your functions, because otherwise you might run into import issues. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and finish up all the rest of the pages, because I still have footer to finish up and I still have some other pages to finish up. So I'm gonna finish that up, I'm gonna fast forward that, and I'm gonna create some tests, and then we'll take a look at how all of it comes together in the tests. Let's go. Alright, so there it is, the test. Now I'm gonna use test Junkie to test Junkie. So what we have here is test Junkie suite definition with the tests, and we have parameterized tests and parameterized suite. So we're using the suite parameter in place of the first argument for the test function, and the test parameter as the second argument in this function. So all of this logic will be executed in different threads as test Junkie runs this test, because when we run it, we're gonna specify the multi-threading test limit to 20, which is far more than what we need to run this test. And what's gonna happen is essentially we are gonna open the home page for the first cycle. There's gonna be 3 cycles, one for home, one for documentation, and so on. So we're gonna open the home page first and we're gonna maximize it, okay, and we're gonna save whatever is returned by maximize, which is, if I go to the base page, the maximize returns self. So self in this case is going to be the home page. So this is still the home page object. Now we're going to go into the homepage object, and we're going to find function click underscore whatever the parameter is. So the very first parameter is going to be logo. So we're going to use function click underscore logo. That function exists in the page header, which is one of our components over here, which is inherited by every single page pretty much, except for the demo page. So click underscore logo is the function that we're going to use first on the home page. So it's going to return the home page object to us, which we're going to save into this page. Then we're going to assert that the expected URL is in the actual URL. Okay, so we're going to use browser. Remember, this function uses browser to get the current URL, which is in the context of the thread. All of these functions are basically going to run in the context of whatever thread they're running in. So that's why I actually have the create new driver call inside this test as well, and then finally we do shutdown. So we should have 12 different tests run for this. So let's go ahead and execute it. I'm going to go into runner and I'm just going to run it. So you see there's 4 different browsers spawned, and each one of them is testing the header. We'll run this just to make sure this works, and then we'll make one change to show you that the validation is actually legit. I believe this is the last one. So test Junkie is going to calculate the stats and it's going to tell me what's wrong. So here you see test Junkie tells me that everything has passed, so that's good. Now, just to make sure this actually works, I'm going to go to the demo page and I'm going to change the expected URL so it does not match the actual URL, because actual URL is not going to be there's no such thing as demo/fail. So this should fail the tests for demo page. So let's go ahead and run the runner again. I don't know why, but the cycles are kind of slow. It's slow to bring up the slow to move to the next class parameter. It's usually faster. So now we have different results. Let's take a look at the results. So test Junkie tells me that class parameter as such for the about page, and for the test parameter demo it actually failed. So I have 3 tests failed, and this is why they failed. We expected URL demo/fail, but the actual URL was /demo/. So that's pretty much wraps up the video, guys. This just shows you how to create page objects that are very, very strong. And I think this is probably like the concepts that I presented in this video, I think you will not find it anywhere else. So I hope you guys like the video. I hope you understand it. If you do, if this helped you out, make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Also, guys, if you're gonna use test Junkie, which I think you should give a try to test Junkie, make sure to give me a star on GitHub. Just go to GitHub and just start the repo. That will help me a lot. Thank you guys for watching and have a good one. Take care.